One of the most hyped designer fragrances from last year finally made it into my collection. Let's talk about it. Hello, welcome back to Sell Dimly Often. I'm Daniel. Today we're talking fragrances and this is a practical review of Hermès Terre d'Hermès Eau Givree. These videos are for fragrances I have a lot of experience with, multiple wears in many situations, and are meant to give you a general idea of what it feels to wear the fragrance. As per usual, I do a lot of research before buying fragrances these days, but I don't really like to go into details about notes and accords because I don't really think that they serve the end user. I'd rather talk about the wear experience as a whole. Yes, I gave in. I bought this hyped designer fragrance. This one was probably one of the most hyped fragrances from last year, very much on everyone's top 10 list for the summer. It's highly regarded as a fresh fragrance, as an invigorating fragrance, a fragrance that apparently cools down the air around you. Is this all true? Let's see. So I don't really buy designer fragrances anymore. It's not because I'm snobby, it's just because that they're not made for users like me with multiple bottles and many varieties and multiple of the same notes. These type of fragrances are marketed towards people that don't have a huge wardrobe, that are looking for a signature scent, and that are more into the utility part of a fragrance. And I got this for the utility of it. Although summer in Switzerland, where I live, is very mild compared to other places around the world, at the end of spring we started getting these really high temperature days, and I started craving a fresh citrusy dumb reach scent. And not dumb reach in the sense that it has to be designer or cheap per se, but dumb reach meaning that there is not an additional complexity there that I need to sort of commit to throughout the day. My benchmark fresh summer fragrance is currently Amouage Beach Hut Man, but that is relatively complex and it requires some commitment to it. First of all, it lasts a ton of time. Second of all, it's very deep and it changes all the time. So I'm not always in the mood for that. I can't wear it every day just because it's also so potent and powerful. I was looking for something citrusy, something simple. I initially had my eyes on Profumum Roma Acquaviva, then I looked at Pantheon Roma Aurea, but those are kind of expensive for what they are. And ultimately, I decided to give the old trusty designer Terre d'Hermès Eau Givree a shot. And I figured that this would fit the fresh, citrusy, fizzy, summery vibe that I was looking for. Is this that? Terre d'Hermès Eau Givree is a designer fragrance, once again, which means that the bottle presentation is never the most luxurious. The philosophy is usually to contain cost, and due to it being mass-produced compared to niche brands, they don't really invest much into the presentation itself. The bottle itself is really nice. I think it's a clean design. I really like the frosted effect, specifically because it's only on the back side. It has this weird transparent frosted effect that is nice and classy, and it's pretty fingerprint resistant. The cap is bad. It's a plastic cap with this like metal effect. It's just kind of cheap. The atomizer and the atomizer assembly is pretty good. I think that this is a refillable bottle. I'm not really sure how this works, if you have to like take it apart, or I'm not really sure, but it is refillable. Thankfully, it doesn't really seem to be easy to tamper with, which is a really good thing if you're buying secondhand or if you're trading perfumes, because you never know what you're getting. With brands like Profumum Roma or Serge Lutens, the cap literally screws off and anyone could just add in any kind of liquid or just dilute it. You never know. As mentioned, the atomizer is pretty good. Let's give it a couple sprays here, or more, because this thing is pretty light. Spoiler. Yeah, I mean, presentation does its job. I think it's above average for a designer. It's this is not a cheap bottle per se. I think I got it at a discount for like 85 to 90-ish, and this is the 100 ml. And I got the 100 ml despite having a lot of bottles, just because I felt like I wanted to spray the hell out of this at the gym, on walks, anywhere. This is a dumb reach fragrance that I wanted to douse myself in. But let's dive into the scent profile. Is this everything I was hoping it would be? Not really. To be honest, the first thing that was lacking was the longevity. All reviews advertise this as being pretty long lasting in the terms of like 6 to 7 hours. I get nothing like that. The initial citrus blast lasts about, I would say, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, and then it goes away. And what's left is not much. This fragrance is very thin. Ultimately, this is a fragrance that if you buy it, you have to reapply constantly. But let's back up a little and talk about that citrus opening, because it's actually really good. So when you first spray this, you get this really fizzy, bright, tart citrus opening. On the notes, it says that it's citron, but it actually smells more like a grapefruit peel or like a lemon grapefruit peel. It's very tart, very fizzy, and it's very uplifting. I think it's really great. I think that the bulk of this fragrance is in the opening. If you take away the opening, this fragrance loses pretty much everything. But as I always say, you don't really buy a fragrance for the opening, you buy it for the dry down. And the dry down for this is pretty underwhelming. As Mark from Robes 08 pointed out, shout out to Mark, the bottom or the dry down of this fragrance is incredibly thin and there's not much to it. I think it's the usual Terre d'Hermès DNA, but in a lighter form. So you get this woody, ashy, vetiver type thing. It's very dry. It's clean. It smells clean. It's not like dirty. It doesn't smell like dirty oranges like Terre d'Hermès. It's much cleaner. But the cleanliness comes with the thinness. It's very unobtrusive and very mild. Speaking of projection, also that's pretty underwhelming. Again, citrus is easy to evaporate, so there's that. But after 30 minutes, this is pretty much a skin scent. It's a beautiful skin scent, but it is a skin scent. As I said in the beginning, the best way to wear this is just like spray the hell out of it onto yourself and reapply it constantly. All this leads to the fact that this, despite being an eau de parfum, is way more similar to like a cologne type scent. There's nothing in the backbone that will elevate and keep the thing going. There's literally nothing. This is just plain old fresh citrus. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. You know what? It's not necessarily a bad thing. I appreciate simple scents, and I can understand that a citrus heavy scent will not last. So before you're blasting me, please note that I do understand this concept. My problem is that for similar money, just maybe a little bit more, you can get similar products that smell a ton better. And one of them is Perris Montecarlo Cedro di Diamante. This thing is an absolute masterpiece of a citrus fragrance. Without taking into account all those citrus fragrances that have a gimmick to them, and by gimmick I mean some sort of a base note that artificially extends the fragrance beyond its citrusy opening. For example, Xerjoff has a ton of musks and ambers. Pantheon Roma has that really strong ambroxan kind of salty note to it. Profumum Roma, I'm not really sure what's in there, but apparently it's long lasting. There has to be some sort of a gimmick. Cedro di Diamante does not have any gimmick, so it falls under the category of Terre d'Hermès. But the opening is absolutely incredible. This is probably the best rendition of a fresh citrus fragrance I have ever smelled in my life. I bought this 5 ml sample quite a bit after I bought the full bottle of Terre d'Hermès. And I bought it because I suddenly just remembered about the brand and I suddenly remembered about the fragrance. This fragrance is from Luca Maffei and it's a really good rendition of the citrus because Perris Montecarlo really focuses on one ingredient first and foremost in their fragrances. Currently I have Patchouli Nosy B from Perris Montecarlo and it's absolutely beautiful. I will be receiving soon Rose de Taif, which I'm really eager to try because I'm into rose fragrances. I'm into the search of rose fragrances, as you know. But this one is an absolutely beautiful rendition of like bright, tart citruses. Let's give it a couple sprays. I have to compare. Yeah, straight away. So in comparison to this, in comparison to Cedro di Diamante, Terre d'Hermès is one-dimensional. It's flat. It's boring, it's good, it has that spark to it, but trust me, in comparison, this smells like a lemon popsicle. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm not even sure what the back of this is. It's really not trying to be anything. I think that the back has some sort of an amber or some spice, but it fades out fast and this thing does not last long, similarly to Terre d'Hermès. And it fades out in a subtle way without really leaving a trace. If you want something that lasts 2 hours, but 2 hours with a bang, this is what I recommend over Terre d'Hermès. Obviously, Terre d'Hermès is way more easy to get, Terre d'Hermès is way more easy to sample, and you probably will end up with Terre d'Hermès Eau Givree. Don't get me wrong, I actually like this fragrance and I think it's pretty good. The opening is really good. It pales in comparison to Cedro di Diamante, but that's a niche perfume. The biggest problem with this is that this fragrance has been hyped to oblivion by reviewers. And if you're expecting the performance in the actual wear experience that reviewers are talking about, you'll be disappointed. And there's nothing worse than getting a product and being disappointed. Honestly, I would say that if you're looking at this, and if you accept the concept of Cedro di Diamante, if you accept these to be a citrus bright fragrance that disappears after 2 hours, just get something like Guerlain Eau de Pamplelune. That's the most beautiful rendition of grapefruit I've ever smelled. Hands down, better than this, and probably about half the price. So look, I tried, I gave Eau Givree a chance, I wore it quite a bit. I had at least 4 or 5 full wears with many sprays. I'll probably be trading it off. I'll probably be getting the Guerlain Eau de Pamplelune, or I'll be getting a full bottle of Cedro di Diamante. Unfortunately, I can't find Cedro di Diamante currently in the marketplace around me, so I might have to wait it out a little bit. And if you really want to stick with Hermès Eau Givrée, due to availability, price, or whatever, don't be affected by my review, by anyone's review. Just know what it is. This is a citrus, bright, tart, energizing fragrance that will last 2 hours. This is more of a cologne type wear. You have to really spray a lot of it, and you have to reapply. I think it's great. I think it's good. I don't really think it's worth the money considering the options, but hey, you do you. Just to close off this review, talking about all of these, Hermès, Cedro di Diamante, and Guerlain Eau de Pamplelune, these are all fragrances that are easy to wear, very versatile. They're day scents, they're sunny day scents, they're office scents. You can spray the hell out of them, wear them at the gym, you can wear them everywhere. Very nice, very refreshing. They hit the spot. They hit the spot in the highest of heat. I would say that owning any of these fragrances is a great addition to the portfolio, something to throw on in the sun, something to throw on without much thought. If you like citruses, these are good. They're completely unisex. They can be worn by literally anyone. If you like this type of content, if you like my approach to videos, feel free to subscribe. It's always welcome and appreciated. Speaking of appreciation, thank you for watching. Thank you so much for your time. If you want to leave any comment, suggestion, opinion, or anything else, leave it down below. I always reply and I always get back to you. Another quick review down, many more to come. Happy summer. See you next time. Cheers.